Well, we have a major update regarding the once promised $5,000 Doge dividend check. We also have a massive update regarding the potential tax cuts that we are going to see for millions and millions of Americans. So, if you are waiting on some money from the federal government, whether it's from a Doge dividend check or a tax cut, well, you need to watch this video because I'm going to go over exactly what is going on at this time. Again, this is a massive update, so I'm going to break everything down as clear as I possibly can. But if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. But before we get to the update, I do ask one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So President Trump has a very big agenda to try to get more money to the taxpayers. But is it going to work? Well, here's what I can tell you, and then we'll get into the main part of the update. First off, Congress. There are not a lot of Republicans, a lot more Republicans than there are Democrats. There's only a handful more in both the House and the Senate. And just recently, when the House and the Senate passed the framework for President Trump's big, beautiful bill, it only passed with a slim margin. And that was just the overall framework. Now they have to hammer out the line items and figure out how much money are they putting towards what. This is where some say Republicans will not be able to come together and get this done. But we'll have to wait and see. I want to show you something though, because right now we are seeing Republicans go back and forth as to what they want to see moving forward. Here's what I can tell you. They want to see relief to the American people. That's the number one thing. How can we provide relief to the American people at the same time? How can we ensure that our programs are going to be here for many more years? How can we ensure that there's a safer border? We have more border security. And how do we ensure specifically that we do not keep running a bigger and bigger deficit? Well, we're going to listen to Speaker Mike Johnson because Speaker Mike Johnson has a lot to say, but I want to pick this apart just a little bit. So listen to this because he's talking about tax cuts, which are actually kind of pertaining to the Doge dividend check. Listen to this.
We are delivering on our shared goals in the budget reconciliation process. Our big, beautiful bill has to reflect all of that, and so it is big, and it involves a lot of areas of policy, and so it requires a lot of close coordination. Our two chambers are directly aligned also on a very important principle, and that is the principle of fiscal responsibility. We are the party that delivers and ensures that. So we have a number of aims here. Our aim is to deliver on our promises in this big, beautiful bill regarding things like border security, restoring peace through strength, and American energy dominance, and regulatory reform to get the economy really humming again. And of course also tax relief, tax reductions. We have to make the tax cuts permanent, and that's all involved and enveloped in this big effort, and all the other promises and priorities we made.
I do want to jump in really quick before we listen to the last 40 seconds of what he has to say. But one of the things that we are going to see is we are going to see what we were promised. Okay, so the tax cuts, additional border security, okay, and some of the policies he's talking about. Okay, we're going to see those things. Those are going to be the big headlines that you see on CNN, Fox News, right, CNBC. That's what you're going to see. But it's the other line items where they are going to try to shove certain things into this bill and hope nobody figures it out. Democrats did it last time. Republicans have done it before. It's going to happen again. So that's what we have to be very careful of. Now, we're going to get to what he has to say in just a second. But here's what you need to understand. President Trump is trying to get this big, beautiful bill passed. According to Speaker Mike Johnson, the goal is to hopefully have this really working on it before the 4th of July. It is April 17th. So again, we are coming down to the wire. And now you're probably thinking, well, we got a lot of time. For Congress, that is not a lot of time. Congress takes many months to pass bills. Let's keep listening, though.
Now, it's important to note that at the same time, we also need to achieve the maximum amount of savings for the American people, because that's what fiscal responsibility is. And we even want to start reducing the deficit. So with all that in mind, our first big, beautiful reconciliation package here involves a number of commitments, and one of those is that we are committed to finding at least $1.5 trillion in savings for the American people.
Okay. That is where it starts to get very interesting. Because Speaker Mike Johnson, and let's just back up. Let's go with President Trump. President Trump said, and Elon Musk has been saying that they're going to save the American people about $2 trillion. Remember that? And then I told you $2 trillion isn't going to happen. Okay? It's very unlikely. They will likely get to $1 trillion, and that could be potentially at the end of the year or next year. Here's the problem. Speaker Mike Johnson just said they plan on saving the American people about $1.5 trillion. Okay? But listen to this. Here's what President Trump wants. And this is actually coming from Caroline Leavitt. President Trump wants, first off, okay, he wants to end federal income taxes. He wants to do that, but that's not something that's going to happen immediately. That's a long-term goal. That's not something he's pushing for right now. Here's what he is demanding from Congress. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, this will be renewed. However, there could be one minor change, and that is actually to the top tax bracket. Instead of 37% for the highest income earners, it will likely be 39.6%. Okay? And the reason why he's open to actually increasing the number for the top earners is because he needs money in order to pay for some other priorities, like eliminating taxes on overtime income, eliminating taxes on tips, and eliminating taxes on Social Security benefits. Those are three things he has promised ever since he started campaigning. And now he wants to fulfill on that promise. Now, here's the only difference. President Trump does want to expand the SALT tax deduction. This is the state and local tax. Okay, he wants to expand that. However, in the big beautiful bill, and every time we watch Speaker Mike Johnson say big beautiful, he starts to smile. He hates calling it that. But here's what you need to know. In the big beautiful bill, President Trump and Republicans want to increase our debt limit. Okay? They want to increase that debt ceiling. And they're going to do that by about $5.3 trillion. The reason why we need to increase the debt ceiling is because we have to be able to deficit spend. We need to spend, and again, we're going deeper into debt in order to fund some of these priorities. But here's the big thing. This is where the once promised, okay, the once, and this was a very high likelihood, the Doge dividend check of potentially $2,000 or $5,000, okay, to 80 million people here in the United States. This was something some people were saying it was a done deal. Okay, I remember, I was one of them that said, you know what, this is something that Republicans are saying has to be done because they promised the American people, we're going to give you some relief. Now, remember under former President Joe Biden, where the Biden administration came out and said, we are going to give you like $2,000. Okay, we're going to give you $200 per month of benefits for people on Social Security. This is going to go 2 years. Okay, $200 every single month. That was coming out $4,800 at the end. We're going to give that to you. And then with Biden math, they decided, you know what? We don't need to give you $200. We'll just save you $200. It's the exact same thing. No, not necessarily, but I get it. Biden math. Now we got some Trump math. So we are going to increase the debt ceiling by about $5.3 trillion. And we are going to reduce that actually to about 3.8, because as Speaker Mike Johnson said, we are going to save the American people $1.5 trillion in savings. This is coming through the cuts through Doge. Okay, so we are going to spend $1.5 trillion to help pay for the elimination of taxes on tips, the elimination of taxes on overtime income, and the elimination of taxes on Social Security benefits. At the same time, we are supposed to have some of that money available to pay down some of our debt. Again, we keep on using the same money over and over again. We also are going to take roughly 20% of that $1.5 trillion and that Doge is potentially going to save, and we're going to pay that to the American people? No. That's the thing. So if Congress, and specifically President Trump, is saying we are going to save $1.5 trillion for the American people, that's great. And that money's going to offset some of the additional expenses that we're going to have, like paying for the elimination of taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits. But what about that 20% that's supposed to go to the American people? Yeah. This is why I'm saying it's interesting. They continue, and when I say they, it's every single person in Congress. They promise you one thing, and then when they promise you this, they give you something a lot less, but they still give you something. That's exactly what we're going to see. So I said this before, okay? I have a friend who is, he's not like the right-hand man to a senator or anything like that, but he's fairly close. And from what he says, he has been spot on every single time. Okay, when then we start getting these reports from the Speaker of the House, okay, from the Senate Majority Leader, from President Trump himself, from Caroline Leavitt. He's been spot on. And what he says is, yeah, we are going to see relief for the American people, but don't expect a $5,000 check. Expect more tax cuts, breaks here and there. That's what we're going to see. We are going to see that Biden math that we saw once before is now turning into Trump math. So just expect that all those promises of, yeah, you're getting $5,000. I told you this before. If we receive anything, it's likely going to be less than $1,500. And that is not per person. That would be per household. And that would be per household that has a net taxpayer. That's it. So not even 80 million people are going to receive it. According to reports, it would be somewhere around the 40 to 50 million household range. That is it. So we're going to see what happens moving forward. All I can tell you right now is the tax cuts, the possibility of this Doge dividend check. We're going to get updates on it. And these updates are going to come pretty quick because, like Speaker Mike Johnson said, he wants to see this really get going right before the July 4th holiday. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but that's what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.